I regret not starting therapy sooner.
Same. And that's coming from a therapist. I didn't start going to therapy until I was almost 40. Almost 40. And it wasn't because there weren't periods of my life that I should have been in therapy. There absolutely was. But again, I think coming from a Caribbean culture that did not really promote mental wellness, right? It wasn't necessarily a thing. Although, like in my family, I could talk about how I feel, and I have close relationships with my parents as well as with other family members. Therapy wasn't this big thing to go to, right? It just wasn't a conversation that we really embraced and discussed. And so now that it wasn't until I became, honestly, it wasn't until I started having panic attacks that I actually had to go to, like, I was like, nah, this is not it. This is not how I want to live my life. And so we got to fix this. And while panic attacks are not an enjoyable experience for anyone who has ever had them, you know what I'm referring to. But honestly, starting to have panic attacks is what literally changed my life. It made me different because I realized I was not doing it as well as I should have been. And that led to a path of starting my practice. It led to me becoming certified in treating anxiety. It led to me writing a book. Like, so many things came from that experience that it ultimately shifted the trajectory of my life. So even in something that ultimately was uncomfortable and completely unwanted in my life experience, it actually worked out really well for me and honestly for countless others. So it was
Thank
great.
you for being so transparent. I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think therapists like yourself, well, therapists in general, but not everyone shares their stories, but it helps someone like me who was reluctant to start therapy. And now, like I said, I regret it not starting sooner, but then I shifted that. I'm still in the process of shifting that narrative, saying I'm so grateful I was able to start when I did because
Mm-hmm.
it makes my future even better, as far as aging well and sane
Mm-hmm.
and just enjoying life, like you said, avoiding the anxiety of things. And I thank you for that. I just want to say thank you.
Oh, well, you are most welcome. I'm really transparent about my own mental health challenges because I realize there was so much shame that I experienced when I was having panic attacks. It was something that I really hid and I really didn't tell anyone until they got to the point like I was breaking down at work and I was like, I can't even get through my workday. Um, and so, and I realized like I'm no good to anyone in this state, especially not myself. Um, and I think working through that shame and working through some of the stigma and the fear of like the judgment of how are you going to be a therapist helping somebody else when you can't help yourself kind of mentality. There was just a lot of self-judgment. There was a lot of like critique of like my own choices and what are you doing? Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe like just all the junk that kind of like plays in our minds when we don't show up in a way that we thought we were going to. And when you are literally rocking and like feeling like wild horses are about to run through your chest, you can't focus on anything else. And it made me realize like this is not it. Like this is not the way that God intended me to live my life. And
So
in
that oxygen
hindsight, I
mask
feel
on
like,
you first.
oh yeah, like I gotta save myself first. And so in hindsight, I realized that it actually made me a better therapist because when I'm talking to women and I'm kind of like asking them questions and I'm getting the sense like, oh no, you are having a panic attacks and you just don't want to call it that. You want to call it your nerves bad. Well, okay, well, we can do that. But let me share with you outside of this professional role what this looks like as a person. And when I'm able to kind of share with them a little bit of my own realities of anxiety is a real thing. Like, but it doesn't mean you have to stop your life and, you got to go hide somewhere and not do anything. No, there is a way to work through it. And I think that that actually is ultimately a gift for me, because it lets people see that no matter how put together somebody may look on the outside, how great their bio looks when you read it, no matter how great their social media looks with all the pictures, we're still humans at the core. And there's so much about every single one of us that other people never really get to see. And that for me was important in building my practice, to make sure that I was as transparent with them as possible if I wanted them to be the same with me, right? For them to be able to reciprocate that and feel like, okay, yeah, she got the letters and she knows the experience. So as you're talking about it, I get it. You don't have to, try to create too many words to make it make sense to me. I understand some of the experience.